What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Elevation here with another episode of the JBP Elevated, where we speak on the Joe Budden podcast and all of his co-hosts on and off the pod.
All right, guys, we got ourselves a little bit of a dilemma here. Another dude cast, which is fine. Melyssa is out there winning awards and whatnot. I honestly have no synopsis of what's going on with Melyssa and the JBP. Do I think she got suspended? Kinda. I can't really say if it's official or not, but she is missing another episode, so she won't be on Patreon either. But we have a bigger dilemma than that. The Mark Lamont Hill void. I saw a comment on Patreon that summed this whole video up perfectly. Shout out to Dorian, because he is the one that wrote it and has a bunch of likes. Mark came in here and was so great, and I alluded to this yesterday because he had everybody brings particular segments to the pod, but Mark came and had all of those segments wrapped in one. So now whenever he's not on the pod, it's such a big void that it's like the elephant in the room. Everybody knows it's there, but nobody wants to speak on it. Joe is gonna have to come out of pocket. I alluded yesterday that he's going to have to apologize to Mark Lamont Hill. I wouldn't make a big deal out of Mark not being here today, but he'd already been missing pods. Sometimes he's on the Wednesday pod, and he had just now started getting on the Patreon episodes. Mark needs to be at every show host. Every single show he has to be here. Whatever it is that you need to pay him. Because Mark is in essence the new Joe for Joe, and it's gonna make me start getting back on my contract talks. Joe still wants to leave the ship because, let's be honest, they don't give up much anymore on the JBP. And an even bigger issue is the Prize Pick sponsorship. Joe has no reason to give us anything that we used to receive from Joe anymore because the bag is secured. And I'm not even going to wish that he loses this sponsorship, but now that we know this is a thing, we have to understand that we are never getting the old JBP back. Joe wants out. If Joe can find a way to get Mark Lamont Hill on here permanently, I absolutely see Joe leaving within a year. I absolutely see it. As long as Mark doesn't do any dumb shit to get us all to turn on him at once, I can absolutely see this play happening. But let's get back on today's show. Mark's missing. Mel is gone. Who do we blame for the lackluster effort today? And they have a moment that should go viral. It should go viral because them getting on ice and the insurance suggesting that shit is crazy. I'm not gonna lie, I damn near shed tears. I was laughing so hard. But outside of that moment, the redundancy on all the topics, guys, I'm about to be 40 in 3 years, so I can only imagine the mean age of your audience is from 35 to 45. You don't think we're tired of hearing relationship topics, cheating topics, salacious things pertaining to relationships, especially when the vast majority of your audience is in faithful relationships? I think you need to start looking up the statistics of who actually watches your show. We're not trying to hear this 24/7. Why do you think there's such a great appreciation for the addition of Mark Lamont Hill? And then, on the flip side, how many times has Mark Lamont Hill spoke on the things that y'all speak on when he's not here? Just a quick synopsis will let you know that your audience is okay with immature times, but we don't want to watch an immature pod. And now that Mark Lamont Hill has shown us how eloquent a pod could be, and we could still enjoy it, the sky could and should be the limit. But everybody hates Mark. Mark trying to win Ish over because he already knew Ish was going to have the most disdain for him. And then he alluded to it the last episode he was on, that Ish is the most important Mark outside of Joe. So if Mark can get in good with Ish, then there would be no issue with everybody else. And it seemingly worked. But Joe, being Joe, can't keep his mouth shut and is trying to instigate it. Again, he's trying to stir up the pot for content, even though this is a real thing that's currently happening, because at the end of the day, everybody has feelings. People feel a certain way if they feel that their money is going to be affected, or if that somebody is coming to possibly take their job, aka their livelihoods. So feelings always come into play with me when it comes to things like this. People are still upset that Mark is there, and they're even more so upset that he is killing shit right now, because they like Mark and he's cool, but they know how Joe's mind operates. And I thought it was very revelatory. The very first thing they spoke on was Flip not getting paid every time he walked out on the pod. That, to me, kind of furthers what I said initially about Melyssa being suspended, because he's trying to set the seed or sow the seeds so there's no dissension when Mel comes back and she's frustrated because she wasn't getting paid on her break. Especially if she was recording for movies or doing things for her pod. No, you're not going to receive payment for not being here, especially when you're doing things for your own shit, which I keep alluding to. Melyssa is using Joe to further her shit off the ground. And once she feels confident and comfortable where she's at, we will never see Melyssa Ford again on the JBP. But things are happening that we're not really paying attention to because we're trying to get the pod to be better. Which it will be in due time, because Mark's going to crack Joe over the head. And Joe, he's talking about the Cullinan today. Joe likes that shit. And I know if I have Mark here permanently amongst my fan base, I could get paid as much as if I was on the pod 24/7. And of course, Joe's still going to pod. I'm just saying, we're not going to see Joe leave until he leaves. It's not going to be a story that builds up like how if you watch ESPN, you see storylines of the NBA throughout the season. No, when Joe leaves, we're going to find out after he's gone. So I'm trying to pay attention to everything as it's happening. But the Mark Lamont Hill void absolutely is being discussed behind the scenes. Absolutely being discussed behind the scenes. But another thing to speak on that Flip money topic, because I think Joe wanted Flip to say that on the pod so Melyssa would know why she wasn't getting paid when she came back. It's not just you, Melyssa. But I do have an issue with Ian being the man that's in control of the money. I do have a big issue with that, because damn, I don't want to sound or make Joe sound like an idiot, but Joe keeps buying all these things, and Joe has people in charge of the money already. He lets it be known that he has financial advisors. But if I'm a thinking man, and the man that opened Joe's eyes to see the money that he's able to receive now, who is Ian, is still there, what in the fuck makes you think that Ian is being 100 with his dealings with Joe? If Joe didn't know that there is money in this field that there is, how would he know the money that we're actually coming across? If, here you go, nigga, I'm giving you enough to buy a Cullinan. Here you go, nigga. You want 2 buildings in that spot? Go right ahead. Go right ahead. You want a Wraith? What other cars you want, Joe? You want a Ferrari? Let's go talk to Enzo himself. If I'm Joe or anybody that has a high dealing or high ranking in the JVP, I'm looking at Ian, and you can call me salacious all you want, but when it comes to money, especially when it comes to likeness, because I do the same things for the co-host. I want the co-host to realize all the ways they're making money off of you, because at the end of the day, the Joe Budden podcast, people would still watch it, but take all his co-hosts off and let it just be the Joe Budden podcast. Is it still at the same level of success that it's at currently? And because he fronts the money, and because he owns the business, quote unquote, in situations like this, we're just supposed to accept shit like that. But I can't. I'm sorry. It's already bad enough we put our blood, sweat, and tears into these companies and they tell us that. But if I'm using my actual likeness and you need me to be there in order for it to be successful, you goddamn right I'm finna be speaking on something. I need equity, I need percentage, I need something. Yep. So Joe, the way I keep telling all your co-hosts to do the same shit to you, you need to start doing this shit to Ian. You need to pay attention to Ian, because it scares me. It scares me. One thing that scares me the most about niggas that stunt are the people that they hang out with that don't. Ian don't stunt at all, but he's your manager. Where's all the money Ian getting going? What is Ian doing with his money? And this is nasty as hell, but let's wake it up for real. Bring Mark on full time. Check with Ian to see where all the money for the JBP is going. Where's Melyssa? Because there's a large contingency in the audience speaking and asking for her, and you know how much stock I put into that. It started with Flip, and I was right on that. Melyssa's getting just as much, if not more, because the people that aren't asking for her return, if they're not commenting, it's the people that don't want her to return commenting. We don't want Mel, but they're still speaking on her. So this situation is, of course, something we need to pay attention to. It's just I don't have enough information right now to lean one side or the other. I'm pretty sure I was the first one to say she was going to get suspended, but now that we're in the thick of it, I don't know if it's a suspension, dog. I don't. Because it could be worse, or Melyssa's coming back and she's going to be pissed off that she didn't get paid the whole time she was gone. It's one or the other. But suspension, I don't know. It just seems strong. But I appreciate y'all, as always, for rocking with your boy. Man, let's keep turning it up, man. Y'all been showing out for your boy. Haven't stagnated. I appreciate y'all for giving me the motivation to continue dropping these videos, man, because who the hell wants to talk about other people all day? This is not me. But y'all make it fun and entertaining, so I appreciate y'all. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to the page if you haven't. If you have, I appreciate you. Y'all be safe out here, man. It's getting ugly in this world. Until tomorrow. Peace.